We are on the weekly Torah portion. We'd like you to please subscribe to this channel and give it a thumbs up. Hit the bell. That will give you notices about new videos coming on, and just have a grand old time listening. Okay, we are on Parashat Vayashev. Okay, let's do the first. Leo set it up because the first Rashi is very, very important actually. It says Vayashev Yaakov Beretz Megarei Aviv, that Yaakov lived in the land of the sojournings of his father, Be'eretz Canaan, in the land of Canaan. Rashi says, why does it say Vayeshev Yaakov? He's asking on the first part. Why does it say he lived in the land of the sojournings of his father, in the land of Canaan? So it says, Achash Katuv V'locha, Esav v'toldotav v'derech Yitzhar. After it says about Esav and his children in very short manner, so then Shalayu, why does it say it like that? Shalayu Safunin b'chashuvin lefarish he'ech l'shashev semachotem, because it's not important to tell us how they inherited the land where Esav was, or the orders that they did, how they did everything. But when it comes to Yaakov, suddenly we have to go very long, because he's the important character here, right? And if you can trace this all the way through Bereshis. When it comes to the people like the 10 generations from Noach to Adam, from Adam to Noach, from Noach to Abraham, is very quick, right? It's just bang, 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 bang. Because those generations there was nothing there. So what we're doing is we're basically, again, using Rashi's language, you put some sand into, what happened was you think you had a diamond, right? And you dropped it in the sand, but you don't know where it is. So what do? You have to sift the sand. But once you sift the sand, once you find the diamond, you throw the sand away, right? You only care about the diamond. So here also, the only one we really care about is Yaakov and his children. We don't really care about Esav and his descendants. So we run through that really quickly just to get to the main thing about Yaakov. So that's number one. The second thing is that it says Vayeshev Yaakov, he settled. What's going on there? He was very concerned about fighting Esav. After all, he and Esav are in a fight forever. So he was very worried about that. And he was saying, how am I going to defeat such a grand... He has all these children taking over Esav and all the other stuff, taking over Edom and all the other stuff that's going on. So how can he ever fight him? So it says, his Elah told of Yaakov, Yosef. Yosef that's the second pasuk. These are generations of Yaakov, Yosef. It doesn't say the rest of his brothers, because Yosef is the one that will ultimately be the one to extinguish, if you will, the flame of Esav. So that's why we have to hear that. The other thing is that he wanted to... Where was it? Okay. The other thing is, and it's the next Rashi, but I'll bring it up here now, is that Yaakov wanted to be in peace. Vayeshev Yaakov, it says he wanted to dwell in peace. After all, throughout his entire life up to this point, he's not having a good time. His brother doesn't like him. He wants to kill him. He sends, Esav sends Eliphaz to kill him. If not for Eliphaz learning with Yitzchak and knowing that you shouldn't kill somebody, so he had a problem with, I have to honor my father. My father said kill you, but again, if I kill you, then I'm dishonoring my grandfather. So that's when Yaakov tells him, take my money and I'll be considered like a dead person. And you can tell your father you killed me. So that's what he does. And but still he's on the run for all this time, for 22 years. And then finally so he has to deal with Lavan, and he has to be cheated all the time with Lavan to get Rachel. So and so on and so forth. Then when he's coming back home, he meets up with his brother 22 years later. Then after he meets up with his brother, he survives that onslaught, because the brother falls on him and wants to kiss him, following one opinion, because he really did forgive his brother for that one moment, fine. Then he goes into Shechem. His daughter is raped. And then he doesn't get home yet, and his son moves the beds. Reuben moves Bilhah's bed out of his father's tent, wanting to move his mother, Leah's bed into the tent. But so the Torah considers this as if Reuben slept with his the father's, which would have been his stepmother. Okay, so there's another problem. So Reuben, Yaakov's not having a good time. Okay, he comes back home, he finds his mother dead, and then his father dies. So again, he's left alone. So now he's saying, okay, enough already. Vayashev Yaakov, he wants to relax, and Hashem says to him, this is not the world for relaxing. This is a world for working. This is a world for getting yourself up in spirituality. So that's why all of these things were happening to him, because he wanted to rest, and Hashem said, no, not the time to rest. And it's a real lesson to us, because how many times do we just say, I just want to be left alone. It's enough already. Yeah. I've done everything, and the answer is, no, you didn't. So what the real answer to what's going on is, we should never say to Hashem, enough. We should just say, thank you for all the challenges, and give us the power to keep going on with them. Really, that's the message that's coming out of here. Okay, so now the next passage. So Elah told Yaakov, like I said, these are generations of Yaakov, or he says chronicles in English here. That's an interesting way to look at it, but it really means generations. Yosef, and it says Yosef was ben Sheva Esher Shana. Yosef was 17 years old. And Hayaroed Achav Batzon, he was shepherding he was shepherding the sheep with his brothers. Again, who were the brothers that he's talking about? So the rabbis want to say they're talking about Bilhah, the sons of Bilhah and Zilpah. And as we're about to see, V'hu na'ar ebnei Bilhah ebnei Zilpah, Nashei Aviv, and he was a young man with the children of Bilhah and Zilpah, the wives of his father. Here's a very important thing to note, that it doesn't say the concubines of his father, says the wives of his father. Because when they had children, when they were married to Yaakov, even while even while Leah and Rachel are alive, they were not given as concubines to marry to Yaakov, to have children with. They were given as full wives. And if they were given as concubines, that would mean that the children that were bore by Zilpah and Bilhah, would not be of the family of Yaakov. You understand? In modern day language, they wouldn't be Jews. They would be non-Jews, because the mothers are not Jewish. But because they would be concubines, so that would go to them. But since they are considered full wives, so that's the children are considered full children. And therefore, everybody's equal. But we have to hear that, and that's why it says, Nashei Aviv. Vayaveh Yosef debatam ra'al avihim, and Yosef brought their bad things, their bad words, to their father. So you have a whole bunch of information in this one verse. So let's see what's going on. So it says, Rashi explains that he was 17 years old, and he says, through this, they would go down to Mitzrayim. That is what it says. Again, that's what we're going to before, when he said, I just want to relax, and God says, no, not the time to relax. Okay. So another thing we have to hear is that he looked like Yaakov. Not only did he look like Yaakov, but what was going on with Yaakov happened to Yosef. In other words, he says, that's what Rashi says, anything that happened, he's getting it from Tanchuma, anything that happened to Yaakov happened to Yosef. This one was hated, namely Yaakov was hated by his brother, and Yosef was hated by his brothers. The one, in Yaakov's case, his brother tried to kill him, wanted to kill him, and in the case of Yosef, the brothers wanted to kill him. And so many other things that are said in Breshut Rabbah. And okay, fine. So then it says he was a na'ar. What does it mean he's a young man? This is a harsh statement about Yosef. Shaya osem masa na'arot. He was doing things of a young boy, as it were. What was he doing? He was fixing up his hair. He was making his eyes look nice. Okay? He wanted to look nice. He was very concerned about fashion. He would have been the GQ guy, on the magazine, the GQ guy. He would have been that guy. I want to look, handsome. I want to look rugged. I want to do this. I want to do that. So I'm going to make myself up. So he's very concerned about his looks, apparently, and that's what it means. Hu na'ar, which is interesting because normally na'ar is not referred to as childish. It's referred to as somebody who is subservient to somebody else. Okay? When they say that Yehoshua was a na'ar of Moshe, it doesn't mean that Yehoshua was dressing himself up to look nice. It means he was serving Moshe. And normally, anytime you see na'ar, it's that. So here, Rashi is saying it doesn't mean what it normally means, but it really means that he was acting like a child. Okay. Bnei Bilhah, and he's 17. So Bnei Bilhah again. So he says, with the children of Bilhah, so Koloma Ragil Eitzel Bnei Bilhah. He was accustomed to be near the children of Bilhah. Why? The Fishayu Ach Echav Mevazenotan for whom Akarvim. So here you see the positive of him. They were saying, Rashi explains that the brothers were mocking or denigrating, that's better, denigrating these brothers, and he was trying to bring them close. He wanted to get close. Okay, again, so Rashi will say in a few minutes that, I'm pretty sure we'll get there, is that was one of the things he told his father. Yeah, we're going to get there in 2 seconds, actually. I'll give you the 3 things they said. And he says, what it says, Dibatam Ra, all the negatives he told his father. So he says, all the negatives that he saw his brothers doing, and that's referring to the Bnei Leah, the children of Leah, he told his father. One, he says, they're eating limbs from a live animal. Okay, you can't do that. One of the mitzvah, that's one of the mitzvah we have. You can't eat a limb from a live animal. That's a mitzvah. Lotal say even for the Bnei Noach. One thing so Bnei Noach cannot do is eat a limb from a live animal.
What does that mean? Like killing the animal and just ripping the limb off? What does that mean?
It could be no, you didn't kill him. If he's dead, he's dead. You need a steak. So what you do is you have a milk cow. Let's say you have a milk cow.
Yeah.
Okay. And you want a steak, so you take some off his hide, and then you plaster it. And then you can eat it. Or what they do is they have, what do they call it? Buffalo? They castrate the animal and they eat his...
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Oysters, that's what they call it.
Rocky Mountain.
Rocky Mountain oysters. That's a limb from a live animal. Right. That would be an example.
So a limb in a broader sense, in other words.
Yeah, it does mean they cut the leg off.
Okay.
Right. Yeah. So you can't do anything like that. Just torturing the animal, and then finally, and also, mezalzlim b'nei shvachov the krotam avadim, and so the other thing is that they were calling their brothers, again the children of Bilhah and Zilpah, the women, the sons of the handmaidens. So which it would means that they would be suspected of not being full sons, actually of being slaves. So you can't call them that. And then he told his father that they were chashud, they were acting inappropriately with women. Now the question is, wait a second, how can the brothers, remember the rabbis hold that the brothers did no wrong. Okay? Here they're all tzaddikim. If they're all tzaddikim, if they're all righteous, these are pretty big averot that they're doing, right? To say that they're suspected even to do things is wrong. So the Siftei Chachamim, it's a very long Siftei Chachamim, but it goes through some of the case scenarios. And it says when it comes to Evrim and Achai, one is they slaughtered the animal. Now, there's a difference here. When I slaughter an animal, the animal is going to shake. Right? It has those, like a chicken without a head.
The nerves, yeah.
The nerves. It just keeps going. The animal is dead. Okay? So now, according to Jewish law, the animal, once you shecht it, once you slaughter it, it is permissible to eat the animal. So even though it's shaking, it's not alive anymore. It's no longer a limb from a live animal. I could eat it. For a non-Jew, you have to wait for the animal to stop moving altogether. He cannot eat it while it's moving. That's one of the things. Okay. So the Siftei Chacham said what he saw, what he may have seen, was they slaughtered it and it was still moving and they ate it. And he accused them incorrectly. He doesn't know halacha. Okay. He was only seeing what he saw. Either that or another halacha, an interesting halacha. Let's say I slaughter a cow and the cow was pregnant. And when I open up the womb of the animal, the baby jumps out alive. That baby is considered shechted because of the mother. The mother was shechted properly. So it's considered as if this baby is shechted. So what does that mean in practical terms? That even if I mess up its shechita, I can still eat it because it was considered shechted already. The only reason I'm shechting it to begin with is because it doesn't look right just to kill it in a normal way, right? Because people would say, he's not eating properly shechted food, probably slaughtered food. So the rabbis should shecht it. But at the same time, if I messed up, it's already done. It was already shechted originally. So it could have been, and even if I don't shecht it, by the way, I can still eat it. Okay, so again, he says, a limb from a live animal. That's the two. That's two of the cases that he gives. Fascinating that the Siftei Chacham would come up with these cases. But again, it's a matter of knowing halacha. If I know halacha, so I know I can give a lot of reasons and rationales for what's about to happen. Okay, that was case number one. Then it said they were zalzel. They denigrated the bnei shfachot by calling them the sons of the concubines. And so, again, the Siftei Chacham says they were considered concubines or maids in relation to the mothers. In other words, when they referred to them, they were referring to them in relation to Leah or Rachel. They weren't saying that the kids were wrong, but they were saying, from our mother is the boss, and your mother is not. So there's nothing wrong with that, Siftei Chacham says. But again, the way that he heard it, the way that Yosef was hearing it, was they're denigrating the brothers, and they're putting a bad name on the brothers. Okay. And finally, the last one, with the suspect of being with women illegally, so they were apparently business people, and they would hand when you go into a store today, if you go into some areas, what happens is religious areas. When they say it's how much money you have to pay, you put the money on the counter, they pick up the money. You don't put it from hand to hand. Why? Because they don't want a chance to touch it. But that's not a halacha, that's more of a chumrah on everybody's part. Absolutely not a halacha. Because what happens is, the only thing that would be forbidden for me to do would be to touch a woman in a manner of terms of endearment. Which is why, again, the Germans would shake women's hands, because they did not consider that a term of endearment. The same heter we all have, that we've used many times, when women would put their hands out, we would shake their hands, no problem. If a woman wants to kiss me on the other hand, no, that's a term of endearment. I'm not interested in doing that. Unlike a man who's going to kiss another man, or a woman who kisses another woman, that's not a term of endearment anymore. That's just, actually, I think it still is, but it's understood in certain cultures that you can do that. Yeah. In America, if a man kisses another man, they're gay. That's it. You have to shake it at distance. Even on the cheek. It's crazy. I was brought up German, so my father's. We always kissed our relatives.
People commonly hug when it's
right.
Friends or relatives.
Amongst the Orthodox Jews, I've never really at weddings. We're constantly doing it, so it's unheard of in our circles. But again, we're European. Our parents were European for the most part, so they brought it over. But I've noticed Americans, even fathers to sons, they don't kiss. They'll put their hand up to shake. And I found that so foreign, it wasn't even funny. I was like, you're father and son, and you don't kiss? We don't. Okay, because they held that, homosexuality. Like I said, to us it's foolishness. But again, that's culture. Culture is culture. But it's again, for women, I noticed that those same guys who won't kiss their own sons will kiss the woman on the cheek. What are you doing? If you won't even kiss your own kid, so why are you kissing the woman? Obviously, you want to do something else. And they'll tell, no, it's nothing. If it's friends, no, don't do the baloney. If you're just friends, so you don't have to do anything. Say, you like that? Yeah. Okay. But that's what's going on here. So halacha would say that I can't do anything in terms of endearment. So when I'm giving money to you, or I'm giving you an exchange, I can put it right into your hand. I can say, here, take it and sit. And that's what they were doing. He understood, no, he said, no, the halacha says you shouldn't even do that. So he saw them doing that. So he said, so I suspected they may be doing more. Okay, fine. So he tells his father all these things, and for those 3 things, he was also punished. Somebody's here? Both here. He wanted to run to class. I love that. Okay. So what happens is, so Rashi says for those 3 things he was punished and now punishment for punishment. He said, on the fact that he said that they were eating live from a live animal, so that's why they slaughtered the goat, so they could dip his coat in the blood and send it to the father. Okay, that was number 1. Then when it came to calling the brothers slaves, so he was sold into slavery. And on the matter of him saying that his brothers were dealing with arayot, with forbidden relations, so that's when we see that what's her name, Potiphar's wife tries to entice him to come to him. So that was the 3 punishments. So it was a mita connected mita. You said this, and you didn't do a full investigation. Again, this is the ultimate in Moshe Shemra, right? If I'm going to speak Moshe Shemra, I'm going to take it on the chin, because I should have done it's certainly Lashon Hara, but I should have done a full length investigation before I report this information. And the fact that I didn't, the fact that I ran to you with every stupid thing there was, and you now had to have a bad feeling towards him, it wasn't proper. Okay. So it says, V'Yisrael, now here's another passage, it's very hard to understand actually. V'Yisrael la'avet Yosef mikol banav. Israel loved Yosef more than all of his sons. Ki ben zekunim himalo, because he was, and again this term is bandied around, but the son of his old age. Okay? And he made for him a coat of a fine woolen tunic. Okay. So now what happens here? He said, Ben Zekunim, Rashi says, Ben Zekunim Shanola Loba 8, he was born to him when he was old. But there's a problem there. Why? Because they were all born 7 years. Except for Binyamin. If you want to say a kid of old age, Binyamin would be the guy. He's the one that's born 7 years after everybody. He's the youngest, right? Because you have when Yosef is born, that's when he works another 6 years so 6 years younger. It's 6 years younger. 6 years, another 6 years, and then he goes away from Lavan. And then when he leaves Lavan, so okay, Rachel dies after giving birth to Binyamin. So he's 6 years. If you're going to say Ben Zekunim, though, it should be referring to that. But everybody else, his other brothers were only a couple months younger than him, maybe 6 months younger than him. What are you talking about, Ben Zekunim? So Onkelos doesn't like that. He doesn't think of somebody born to him in an old age. Rather, he says he was a bar chachamhu. He was a wise person. And that his father, whatever Yaakov learned from Shem and Aver, from the yeshiva, he gave over to his son. That's why he was a Ben Zekunim Himlo. That's why he was a smart person. What's a zakein? Zeh shekona chachma, a person who acquires wisdom. That's what we call the zakein. If you want to say an old person, you say seva, an old, gray-headed, older person, one who sits, one who's entry. But here, zakein can mean a young kid. So we can have a lot of zakeinim in school if they're geniuses. There'd be a zakein according to that theory. So you have to understand that in this context too. And finally, the third reason that they called him a Ben Zekunim and why he may loved him was Shaya Ziv Okinan Shalodama. He looked like him. A chip off the old block. Okay, I'm not sure that's the reason why you should do it, but okay, fine. And this coat that he gave him was, I think, worth 2 shekels more. In other words, we're getting jealous over 2 shekels, which is a small amount. And finally, what does the pasim mean? And this is so he says that first it's an acrostic that he would be sold to Potiphar, that's the pay, the Sokarim, to the sellers, the Yishmaelim ul Midyanim. So you have the Yishmael, so that's how you get pasim. Okay, Potiphar, Sokarim, Yishmaelim, and Midyanim. Okay. Fine. So then what happens? Virachav and his brothers saw this. That his father loved him more than all his brothers, and they hated him for this. And they could not speak peaceably to him. Okay, now Rashi says, these are all really famous Rashis, but they're important to go. It says, why couldn't they speak to him? So what does it mean they couldn't speak to him? It says, mitoch genotam, from the midst of their denigration. It's working. It's still working. 26 minutes in. Yeah, we have a whole.
Huh?
I
mean, am I allowed to talk or no?
You can ask a question.
Well, you'll have to edit that. I don't know.
I can edit. Okay, let me.
I'll talk after.
Okay, very good. I don't know how to edit yet. So from the midst of their denigration, Lamadnu Shivcham, we learn their praise. Shalot Dabru Acha Pepev Acha Palev. They could not speak. The way their heart was also their mouth. You understand? They couldn't be two-faced. People can be two-faced. In other words, I can be angry with you, but I train myself to smile. And as the song goes, smiling faces, they lie, they don't tell the truth. That was an old song from the 60s, I think 60s, okay. And, but that is what people do. They learn to, I can be angry, I can be upset with somebody, but because I have to be professional about it, I don't let that out, right? So I can be two-faced about it. But the boys could not be two-faced. They didn't like their brother. They couldn't speak peaceably to him. There was nothing they couldn't have a civil conversation, as it were, because they didn't want to. They wanted him to know that we don't like what you're doing. Okay. So that's why it says, in the midst of their denigration, we hear their praise, because it's the praise that I can't hide my feelings. Some people's. I always hear this. I just heard everything to Shabbat Brachas. Okay, when the father said, I won't say to Shabbat Brachas. When the father said, my wife says I'm a lousy liar. Okay, fine. That's exactly the point. If I'm a lousy liar, I can't have two faces. I wear my emotions on my sleeve. That's the expression. Wear my emotion on my sleeve. So that's it. That's what they did. Okay. So now what happens? He says, "V'yachalom Yosef chalom." So, now, mind you, that's the setup. Okay, the setup is the brothers hate him because the father loves him, not necessarily because of the coat, not because of anything else. It's just because he's telling on them. He's running to their father and saying all the bad, the negatives. The father loves him, so seemingly you love the tattletale. Okay, but he's your favorite son, fine. We understand it from Rachel. You consider us like nothing, fine. So it furthers the fight. Then what happens is Yachalom Yosef, Chalom Yosef had a dream. Yageh the Chavni told his brothers, Yosef Otznoto, and they hated him more for this. How they say that they they hate him even more. Okay, fine. They hate him even more.
Yeah.
Now Rashi, just point this out, Rashi doesn't say anything on this because there's no reason to explain this. It was just a matter of you did something. You should have not gone to your brothers to say I had a dream, especially what he's about to say about the dream. And he says, behold, in my dream we were gathering the sheaves together, right? Binding sheaves, right? And the Mesafil, and my sheaf got up and it stood. And your sheaves surrounded it, and they bowed down to my sheaf. That's what his dream is. Now, if you're hearing this spoiled brat in your mind, brother, you really can't stand, and he's going to say, guys, I had a dream. Now, why is he telling him the dream, by the way? Because he knows that the dream follows the interpretation. Otherwise, no reason to tell you a dream. I'm telling you a dream because I want you to interpret it well. Okay, we had this whole dream sequence in the Gemara Brachot, you remember. It's a whole thing. So I want to be well. So I'm going to go to my brothers who are going to interpret the dream according to the true interpretation. They're going to give me a true interpretation. That's what I want because they're truthful. They can't lie. They can't wear their emotion on their sleeve. Yeah. They're straight. I've always said that the reason my mother loved going shopping with me when I was a kid was because while the saleswoman would always tell her, "You look beautiful in this," she would look to me and say, "How do I look?" I would say, "You don't look good." So my mother would say, "Put it away," because I didn't have that. I didn't have that I didn't have a filter. So now I have a filter.
He's just blurting out the dream and letting them pick it up from there.
He's saying the dream knowing that they're going to interpret it truthfully. Truthfully. They're going to say it truthfully. So what happens? They say, Vayomru lo Achav, and his brother said to him, Hamloch timloch aleinu. Are you going to be a king over us? In Mashol tim shalbanu, will you rule over us? Vayasifo tznoto, and they hated him all for that. On his dreams and on his words. In other words, again, we can't forget, they didn't like him because she was telling them, tattling, but also because of his dreams. You're dreaming that you're going to rule over us. Now there's, let me just finish what I'm saying. This again, they said, are you going to be our king? Are you going to rule over us? The Kli Yakar says, again, a very strong thing here. He says, are you going to be our king? In other words, we're going to want to serve you? Or if we don't, are you going to be our ruler, a despotic ruler? That's the difference between those two kings. A king is one who rules nicely, and a moshel is one who just puts the hammer down on you. Yes, what were you going to ask?
Yeah, so he tells them the dream, and so they just blurt it out, and that's the obvious, would be the obvious meaning of it. That your sheep
again, they say it out. They say it out.
Right, and that's what he was hoping for.
Right, that's exactly what he wanted. So now what happened? Second dream, they learned their lesson. He said, he had another dream. And he told to his brothers, and he said, I had another dream. Then there was the sun, the moon, and the 11 stars. And they bow down to me. And they don't tell him anything. They don't interpret. They say, no, we're not interested anymore. Have a good day. Okay? So what happens? So he tells it to his brother, his father, and to his brothers. He tells it one more time. He wants interpretation. Again, if I don't have an interpretation to the dream is nothing. It has to be interpreted. Okay? So he goes to his father, and he goes to his brothers. Vayikar bo aviv. And his father rebukes him. Vayomer lo, and he says, what kind of dream is this? What kind of arrogance do you have? He's trying to push it off. Then he interprets. Will I and your mother and your brothers come to bow down to you? Oh, that's all he had to say. He fulfilled, got it done.
The brothers just...
the brothers didn't want to say it. The father interprets it.
There it goes.
And that's done. And then it happens, Vayikanu bo Achav, so his brothers were jealous of him, V'yaviv, and the father, Shamar Devar, watched. He wants to see what's going to happen. Because what he says, Rashi says, when he said, shall I and your mother is dead. Remember, Yosef's mother died a long time ago. Your mother's dead. So you think she's going to come down to bow to you? So they want to say it's Billah, so on and so forth. But that was his way of trying to say to everybody, dreams have foolishness in them. Dreams they mean nothing. Don't worry about it. She's trying to push the jealousy off from the boys. He's trying to say, don't worry about it. At the same time, he's still saying, oh, something's going on here. We'll stop here.